Hey guys, it's Victoria, and this is sort of the part 2 of my About Me video. I'll post the first part below where I talked about sort of my childhood and my education and my work history, and I said I would do a separate video on sort of my relationship with Matthew, how we met, and how we got to be where we are today. So, Matthew and I have been together for 10 years, and we have been married for 6, which is crazy. When I say 10 years, that's almost a third of our lives, that's crazy to think about. It's gone so fast. We first met when we were both in high school. We had a class together in grade 11. We had chemistry together, and we went to a huge high school. Like, our school had almost 3,000 students, and our graduating class had over 700. So you sort of had your little core of friends, and for me anyway, that was kind of it. I didn't know him, but we had one class together, and I remember thinking he was kind of obnoxious. You know, he was a 16-year-old guy, which 16-year-old guy isn't. And I remembered noticing that he had a gray spot in his hair on like the side. He has like a sort of a rectangle of gray hair that he's had. It's like a birthmark he's had since birth. And I remember noticing that and like thinking it was cool. But beyond that, we never had any interaction that I recall anyway. So then after high school, we both entered the Faculty of Engineering and sort of became friends. And he always teases me because a good friend of mine was in engineering as well, and she was hanging out with him, and I was like, oh, don't hang out with him, he's a jerk. Because I just remembered him being kind of like obnoxious in high school, and he teases me that I like ruined his social life because I spread rumors to there's not very many girls in engineering, but it's just kind of a joke. But we ended up being, friends in first year, and I sort of there was a group of guys that went for coffee after one of our classes, and I went with them on a weekly basis, and he was one of those guys, and we were just friends. I had a boyfriend at the time for my first 2 years of university. It was sort of my first serious relationship, so Matthew and I were only ever friends. But I do remember one night we were out at a bar, and he was there, and he was dancing with like a friend of a friend, and I remember being like really jealous and saying to my friend, oh, like Matthew's dancing with this other girl's friend, and I just really didn't like it. And it's funny because I obviously had a crush on him back then, and I didn't even realize it, I guess. So at the end of first year, I left engineering and went into business, and he continued on in the engineering program, and we didn't see each other again for the next couple of years. And like, our university is a big campus. You don't run into a lot of people that aren't in your immediate circle. So the summer before our last year of university, so this would have been 2004, I was going to meet my family at a campground after work. And when I drove out, he was working at the front gate. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in like years. What are you up to? And we talked for 2 seconds. It was like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and he was working, and I was just going in to meet my family. So that was kind of that. And then it's sort of like one of those things that it was like all the stars aligned, and we just, I don't know, it felt like it was fate. Like, it totally feels like we were meant to be together, I guess. Not to sound too cheesy. So a few days later, after that, maybe a week or so, I was working, and the store I worked at closed at 10 o'clock, and it was like 10:02, and we were like, the second the clock hit 10, we locked the doors. But I still had my cash in, and I heard this knock on the window. And he swears to this day he didn't know I worked at the store, but it just seems kind of coincidental that a few days after I see him at the campground, he shows up where I work. So because I knew him, I let him in and waited on him, and he left. And while he was in line, he asked me if I was still dating that other guy, and I said no. So he said, well, I better get your number. So he got my number, and he left. And then maybe the next day or so, I was out, and when I got home, my mom said, oh, Victoria, Matt called. And this is kind of funny because I had been seeing a guy not too long before whose name was Matt, and I had another friend whose name was Matt, and then I had this Matt, and so the joke, I kept saying, which Matt was it? Like, which Matt called? Because I didn't have Matthew, my husband's phone number to call him back. And so I didn't call him back because I didn't have his number. And so we have company. Say hi. So anyway, I didn't have Matthew's number to call him back if it was my Matthew. It gets confusing. So I just kind of left it at that. And then again, this is another one of those things, like I hadn't seen him in 2 years, and then all of a sudden he just kept cropping up everywhere. It was my birthday, and some friends and I went out, and he was there, and a mutual friend that knew him found him and brought him over, and so he got my number, my cell number this time, and the next day he called me, and our first date was a group date. We went to watch a hockey game at a pub, and then we went out dancing, and we just really, really hit it off. And I remember, like, Matthew he's the type of guy that when he says he's going to call, he calls, and he just was really thoughtful. And it was something that I had dated a few not so nice guys in between my, my first long-term relationship and meeting him. I had a year or so where I was single and kind of just, dated a little bit, and I dated some guys. You're so cute, you're distracting, that weren't so nice. So it was new for me to be treated like this, and it was pretty nice. So we pretty much immediately started dating and were a couple. So we finished our last year university together, and it was a crazy year because he was doing a 5-year engineering program in 4 years, and he had, I think, 6 courses each term plus labs, and was really busy, so we didn't see a whole lot of each other, but made it work. And then 2 years after we were together, so we graduated after a year, and then we're together another year. We moved in together into an apartment that's actually in an old shoe factory, which was really neat. And a year after that, we bought our first home. Mama. Yeah. Oh, Sophie. And he proposed not long after that. We were engaged for 6 months, and we got married here in the city that we live in, with our closest friends and family, and it was a beautiful wedding. We went to Hawaii on our honeymoon, which was incredible, and we hope to go back someday, but it's so expensive, especially to travel there from here. So yeah, that's sort of our my relationship story with Matthew. I'll put some pictures in at the end, and I'll put the videos below of the story of these two and when they came along. Stop it. She just told me to stop it. Say hi. Her hair's kind of like curly today. Or like wavy. It's really cute. I just let it air dry. We had a shower this morning, and her bangs need to be trimmed though. Are you the cutest? Are you the cutest? Every time Noah sees me making a video, he wants to take the camera and yeah, and show you guys everything. He wanted to show you his Elfie and his advent calendar. Stop it. All done talking? All right, so thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you in our next video. Say bye.